Okay. Now, I understand I haven't played Genshin in a fair bit, and that's mostly because Natlan as a region is kind of disappointing. I'm not talking about in terms of the story, I'm talking about in terms of the characters. And, man, that version update, huh? Like, I don't care about Genshin now. I'm usually in it for the characters, but uh, as you can tell by whatever the title is going to be and the thumbnail or what have you, I haven't decided yet. Genshin is slowly becoming like Wuwa in the worst way possible, specifically when it comes to the characters. Now, if you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, then you either don't play Wuthering Waves, don't think Wuthering Waves' characters have an issue, or you think I'm talking up my ass and blowing smoke, when no, I am not. So, back in the 1.0 days, all of the support characters in Genshin Impact were generic supports. They all worked with whoever the fuck you wanted to use. Now, obviously, Anemo couldn't shred Geo, but that's besides the point. Characters like Bennett could provide an attack buff so long as you're within his very tiny AoE, and anyone and everyone would gain an attack buff right then and there. Now, granted, his C6 does apply Pyro Infusion, but you should only be really using him with Pyro-related characters to begin with, or a Pyro damage-focused DPS, because that's how you build characters in Genshin. You have your main DPS, a character that matches that DPS, an Anemo support, and then a character that helps to trigger whatever reaction you want to trigger. But anyway, nowadays though, ever since with the release of even Nidhu, I believe, Genshin has gone down this weird trend of having every character's kit or some of the character's kit only work slash be viable if you meet certain conditions when it comes to other character types. So, to give an example, the best example would be Chevres, because she's way worse, I think. Well, no, Nidhu is still pretty bad, because she's a beautiful 5-star character. So, what Chevres does is she buffs Overcharged, which is the reaction when Pyro meets Electro, or vice versa. But you only get all of those buffs if the only characters in your comp are Pyro and Electro. I don't need to tell you how bad that is in terms of gameplay and in terms of team composition and team synergy. Like, it should have only been she buffs Pyro and or Electro, because then that way you can still have an Anemo character in the comp. Nilou is in a similar way, and she was released before Chevres, where you can only use her or get the full max potential of her kit if you played her with other Dendro and Hydro characters, which, at the time, Bloom by itself was a terrible reaction. That's why Hyper Bloom exists. Which is when you make a Dendro core, which is when Dendro and Hydro meet, and you trigger Electro-based attacks. It instantly detonates the core and does damage to the opponent. Now, characters like Shenhe I don't have a problem with, because they can buff all of the characters of that specific type, and there's plenty of characters as well, and you're not locked to only using that type of character. Shenhe is a cryo buffer, which means she can buff other cryo units, not just your DPS, but you can still use other elemental units as well. Like, you can use an Anemo and a Hydro unit, for instance, or a Pyro unit to trigger Melt. And that's some shit. But with this new character, a chef-looking chick, she buffs Freeze and wants Hydro and Cryo characters only. And that's a bad sign. Hell, even Auroron, and I believe her name is Emily, the Dendro chick, even both of them want to work only with Burning slash Burgeon as a reaction. It won't work as well in, say, Hyperbloom or anything else. Catalyze and Quicken, I believe those are called. So even those two had it rough. And then there's Aura, who buffs electrocharged slash electro and hydro only, and wants electro and hydro only. That's kind of dumb. And let's not get me started on the new 4-star character, Ifa? Ifa? I don't know how his name is actually pronounced. But he buffs Swirl and electrocharged. Now, that is better than only having viability with only 2 elements, but still, only buffing one type of damage is kind of fucking shitty. Now, in comparison to Withering Waves, I'm going to take my favorite support character as an example because I love maining Ji-Yeon. Ji-Yeon's best support is Mortiphy, because with Mortiphy's Atro skill, which can be used when his Concerto gauge is completely full, or whatever the circle is to the left of his health bar, whenever that is full and you tag him out to tag in the incoming Resonator gets their heavy attack damage amplified by percentage for a few seconds. You can already see where I'm going with this. Mortiphy can only buff heavy attack damage. Other units that are like Mortiphy, for the most part, can only buff basic attack damage, or skill damage, or resonance liberation damage. Yinlin, one of my fucking favorite characters design-wise, buffs lightning and resonance liberation damage, meaning she can only be used to her fullest potential if she is partnered up with a lightning DPS that also does good resonance liberation damage, which is typically going to be Calcharo and Jingli Yao. So, yeah. And the only generic supports in Wuwa are, so far, what's that healer? Baiju, or Baija, Shorekeeper, Verena, Taucha, I think, the pink-haired Havoc chick, and Genshin, the monk brawler. I believe those are the only characters that are generic enough that can be used in any kind of team comp. But literally every other unit either doesn't have an outro skill / passive abilities that include everyone, or are not generic enough. So yeah. And Genshin is slowly becoming like Wuwa with its characters. Instead of all of the characters, buffing some aspect of something. Like, why can't we have attack speed? Like, make another Zhang Yin, i.e. Cloud Retainer, where she unlocks a new potential type of damage for characters, because she buffs Plunge and enables Plunge. Why can't you make a character like that instead? Why do you have to make characters that are buffers and have to have it so that this is only good if you own this character? That's why I don't like Shielo Nin, by the way. People are saying that Geo is better now. No, it's not. Just because Shielo Nin made Geo good again doesn't mean Geo is good. It just means it's heavily reliant on Shielo Nin. And even then, you only use her against bosses. Kazuha and Sucrose are still the best support characters in the entire fucking game when it comes to crowd control aspect. And even then, Animal Shred is better. But yeah, I don't like the current state that Genshin is in. I'm really hoping Snezhnaya fix all of the issues and problems, but I highly doubt it. It sucks to see a game I used to have a strong passion and love for get treated like absolute dog shit. And to anyone and everyone talking shit about Natlan and Hoyo makes problems and then sells the solution, they've been known to do this, but Natlan is the worst of it, because Fontaine, Sumeru, and Inazuma, every character could do literally the main gimmick. Like Fontaine, everyone can swim underwater. Sumeru, everyone can be like Spider-Man. Same thing in Inazuma, everyone can be like Spider-Man. But when it comes to Natlan, only the Natlan characters can, traverse the land way better. Now, granted, people are forgetting we do have the Saurians, but you need to actively find a Saurian first to use it, and that I understand. But yeah, Natlan as a region, and in terms of characters' designs, their kits, etc., the whole voice actor thing for the English side of things, man, it sucks. It really does. But anyway, I've been Ryukishi, and I'll see you next time. And apologies that the footage is Zenless Zone 0. I'm not updating Genshin and playing Genshin for footage. You're going to have to deal with Zenless. So if you were at all confused on why I have Zenless footage, that's why. Anyway, I'll see you next time.